Welcome to Whiskey's the Journey. My name is Peter Fasciano, and today is Monday, and it just so happens that this Monday, at the time that this is airing, is Memorial Day, and I can't think of any better bourbon to review other than the Horse Soldier bourbons that I have in my collection. Let me quickly go over the stats for each of these bottles, and then we'll get on to the review. The first bottle I'm going to be taking a look at is their standard bourbon, the straight bourbon whiskey, and this says premium on the label. It's their copper colored looking bottle. It's coming in at 87 proof. It's a high rye mash bill of 65% corn, 30% rye, and 5% barley. I paid $65.99, and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Bottle number 2 cost me less money, and this is going to be a wheated mash bill looking at 70% corn, 20% wheat, and 10% barley. I paid $49.99 for this, and it's coming in at 95 proof. And I'll get to the reason why this is 95 here in a little bit. And if I had to describe a color, this would be almost like a yellow copper color. And then the final bottle is their heavy hitter. This is the one that has that silver label. It's coming in at 114.9 proof. It's also the same wheated mash bill. And it says right here on the label, this is their reserve. All of these bottles are 750 milliliters. This particular one was $79.99. And for all of you eagle-eyed people out there, you notice that I have a fourth glass as well. I'm going to get to this fourth glass in a little bit. Also, just to let you know, I have a May giveaway going. The description, or looking in the description below, are all the rules. And if you want to stick around until the very end, I'm going to give you a little bit more detail. So let's go ahead and get into these first three and kind of give you an idea of what they smell like and what they taste like. And then I'm going to end up talking about them in a little bit, talking about Horse Soldier in general. Now, when I first took the lids off of these, I do get a little bit of an overripe banana note, which I've never gotten before. So maybe all three of them, coming together is giving me that note, but they're also coming across as pretty vanilla sweet. So the very first one, I guess I could bring the bottle out so you kind of have an idea of which one I'm doing. So the first one, the gold label, again, 87 proof. I believe this is their signature or their premium. A little bit nutty. And when I say nutty, I'm not thinking that this is peanut buttery nutty. It just comes across as dusty shells of some sort of nut. If you were to open up a package of mixed nuts and kind of smell them, it's a little bit like that, but like the nuts were gone a long time, and in that cardboard container is a little bit of remnants. That's kind of what I'm getting here. There's also a pretty good amount of vanilla sweetness. The banana note that I got initially, I don't pick up in this at all. And it smells like your typical bourbon. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Yeah, nothing offensive there at all. Comes across as your typical bourbon, not too proofy. That dusty nut note is also there. Good amounts of vanilla, very subtle amounts of brown sugar and caramel. It's pretty much your standard, typical bourbon notes. Nothing too fancy, nothing, too in your face or overpowering. Just your standard bourbon. Let's go ahead and get on to bottle number 2, which is going to be their signature, which is bottled at 95 proof. The wheated mash bill definitely smells a little bit different than this. And as far as this one being a high rye mash bill, I don't get a whole lot of spice that I would typically get in a rye mash bill that's up to 30%. Maybe this is borderline bready, but I typically get like a wheated roll when I smell a wheated bourbon, but I'm not getting that. It does smell a little bit bready. It's pretty nondescript on the nose. I would say this smelled sweeter than this. There's a slight floral note that's coming out of here. And even though this is a higher proof, I really can't tell the difference of the proof just by nosing it. Small hints of vanilla. Yeah, I would say vanilla and floral, and maybe slightly bready. Let's go ahead and get this one on the palate. All right, so there's the proof, and that's weird. There's more spice in this than there is in this one. And then after the sweetness, there is a drying effect, a little bit of a barrel tannin or a barrel bitterness on the side of the tongue. That floral note that was coming through on the nose is also there on the palate. It almost has the almost like a waxy, grassy kind of note to it. I can definitely tell on the sip that it's a little bit more proofy than the first one. And I can tell you right now, I actually prefer the flavors of glass 1 over glass 2. All right, let's go ahead and get on to glass number 3. Again, glass number 3 is their reserve, their silver label. This one is the high proof. And I'm gonna add water. Oh my gosh. That is nothing but cut grass. That's very earthy, very floral. Wow, that took me by surprise. So this is 114.9 proof. Yeah, that's kind of got a completely different profile from glass number 2. And I'm thinking, and please, I'm not an expert on this. Let me know in the comments down below if these two wheated bourbons actually have the same mash bill. I just did a quick lookup and just saw that the wheat, boy, this really smells funky. I do not like that nose at all. But again, leave some comments down below if these are two different wheated mash bills. On top of that grass or hay note, it's also very astringent, almost like a cleaner of some sort. Yeah, I'm not digging the nose on this one at all. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Yep, same thing on the palate. That's very floral. The ABV is pretty high. That drying note that I got in here is also here, but this is almost sucking the moisture off of my tongue. As it lingers, there is a little bit of sweetness, but that barrel tannin and bitterness is overpowering the sweetness. I like the proof of it. I'm just not a big fan of the flavor profile. All right, so what I'm gonna do is add a couple of drops of water to each one of these and then talk to you a little bit about Horse Soldier. And there's a reason why I have glass number 4, and I'll get to that in a second. So really quick, a couple of drops in each one of these. Let them sit for a little bit. And then let's talk a little bit about Horse Soldier. And there's a story behind this. So I was in my local Total Wine and I'm sitting in front of the bourbon counter and I'm kind of scanning. This is early on in my journey. I'm kind of scanning the shelves for a bourbon to bring over to my brother-in-law John's house and my sister Mary Bridget, because we were going to do a tasting. And all of a sudden I heard, "Hey, are you looking for a bourbon?" And I turned to look and I'm staring at somebody's like midsection and like crank my neck up to take a look at who was talking to me. And there was this mountain of a man just standing there. He had a shirt on, and I shit you not, his arms were turning purple because I don't think they make shirts large enough to fit a human this size. So I'm looking at him, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like searching for a bourbon because I'm going to go over to my brother-in-law's house and we're going to do a tasting. He's like, "Have you ever heard of Horse Soldier Bourbon?" And he's wearing a Horse Soldier shirt. I'm like, "No, I haven't heard of it. What about it?" He's like, "I'm one of their I'm going to use that voice the entire time." And he said, "I'm a representative for Horse Soldier. I'm in town. Ben Avery Shooting Range is doing a sponsored event with Sig Sauer, and he was down here pimping, I guess, his bourbon, the person that was representing Horse Soldier Bourbon. And he came into the Total Wine to pick up a couple of extra bottles because either they ran out or they didn't have all of the expressions. I didn't get into any of the specifics. And he proceeded to tell me the story of Horse Soldier Bourbon. After 9/11, there was our first entrance into Afghanistan, and it was Team 595 that were dropped into Afghanistan in the northern part of Afghanistan. And they had to go up through these mountains to carry out their mission. And they didn't have tanks, they didn't have vehicles, so what they ended up doing is riding horses. There was also another team that was dropped in the southern part of Afghanistan, and that was team number 574. These two Green Beret units, after they got done with Afghanistan, they ended up starting up this Horse Soldier Bourbon Company. And the name Horse Soldier Bourbon came from that team that was dropped in the north, because all they did was ride horses up through the northern part of Afghanistan. I'm going to link to a documentary in the description below. I highly suggest, if you are not familiar with the Horse Soldier team, Team 595, or the other team 574 that was dropped in the south, go ahead and take a look at this documentary. It's absolutely fascinating. And different people from each of these groups or each of these teams, when they got done doing what they were doing within their career, they retired and they just jumped in and said, let's go ahead and learn everything we possibly can about the bourbon and scotch making business and open this up. And this is where I'm going to need a little bit of help. These 3 glasses that I have all say on the back of the label, handmade and bottled by American Freedom Distillery in Columbus, Ohio. This 4th glass that I have, it says on the back, handmade and bottled by Horse Soldier Bourbon in Bardstown, Kentucky, distilled in Ohio. So I think there is going to be a little bit of a branding confusion part of this video. I do believe they originated in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I think the American Freedom Distillery was in Florida, but they contract distilled through Middle West. They gave them the mash bill, and I'm thinking that Middle West ended up producing the liquid with them, while in St. Petersburg, Florida, I think the American Freedom Distillery was going and they were distilling their own stuff. But I think somewhere along the way, they abandoned the Florida and decided to all move to Kentucky. This entire company was founded in 2018, and I do believe they broke ground in 2021, October 19th, 2021 in Kentucky. And there is where they're going to have their Horse Soldier farms, and I believe they're also building their own distillery. And I don't think they completely abandoned St. Petersburg, Florida. I think they still have like a Stillhouse Grill or a Stillhouse restaurant there, and apparently it's supposed to be pretty good. If you have ever been there, let me know in the comments down below how it is. I do believe they are still contract or sourcing their stuff from Middle West, but they are in the process of building their own distillery in Kentucky while still making their own distillate in St. Petersburg, but I'm not exactly sure. So again, I am not a professional and I don't know this to be true completely. So let me know in the comments down below if you understand when they left Florida, if they're still in Florida and ended up going to Kentucky, and if they're in the process of distilling their own stuff there, or if they're still in the process of building the distillery. And that is why glass number 4 is here, because it is the newer batch or the newer distillate that is involving Kentucky. And this one is coming in at 124.6 proof. I believe it's still the same mash bill, 70-20-10, but as you can tell, they are completely different colors. And I did tell you that the reason why this one was 95 proof and this was less is they're actually bottling this at 95 proof to give homage or to tip their hat to Team 595. And obviously the 95 proof for Team 595. So there you have it. Let me go ahead and get bottle number 4 down and see if it's different than bottle number 3. The grassy note is not as strong as it is in this one. It's higher proof. It's definitely stinging my nose. There's a little bit of a floral note as well, but not necessarily as dominant as this one. I get more vanilla and oak on here. I'm still not in love with the nose, but I like it more than that one. Let me get a sip into this. Let me add the water, and then I'm going to start tasting them back the other direction to see if the water did anything. I expect this to be pretty proofy. Yep, that's hot. And it is not so this brings back a memory. We had something called Jamba Juice here in Arizona, and what they would do is they had the grass they would actually leave on top of the machine. They would cut the grass and they will put it through this press, and you can actually do a shot of this ground up grass liquid. That's kind of what I'm getting with the 2 of these. But because of the proof and how hot this is, I'm getting that note dominant in the mouth. If anybody has ever had any of those, I think, was it wheatgrass? If anybody ever had any of those shots, let me know in the comments down below. But that's exactly what that tastes like. Let me grab a fair amount of water for this one. And let's go back through and give these a taste. So again, bottle number 1 is their premium at 87. I tell you what, the nose on this is the best of any of them. I'm wondering if the water is going to bring out a little bit more of that rye spice in here, but the nose really hasn't changed at all. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. Yeah, that little bit of water flattened everything. You can drink your whiskey however you want. My suggestion for myself going forward is not to add water to this. I preferred the nose and the palate without water. All of those same notes are there. It's your typical bourbon, but it just tastes watered down because it is watered down. Now let's get on to glass number 2, which again is going to be their signature release at 95 proof. Again, the wheated mash bill. This smells much sweeter now. Lots of vanilla. The bready note is jumping out of the glass now. I like the nose with the water on this more than without. It smells like it's going to be sweeter. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Floral, sweet, brown sugar, vanilla. The earthy cut grass hay note is dropped down a little bit. I actually prefer this with the water. It just took a little bit of an edge off of all of those flavors that I was getting prior to adding the water. So far, both of them are drinkable, but I wouldn't say that they are fantastic. They're just average. All right, let's go ahead and get on to glass number 3 with the water. All right, the water elevated that acetone note that I was talking about earlier. Still get a good amount of florality. Definitely not as sweet on the nose that this one was. All around, I would say that it's not a very pleasant nose. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Yeah, everything that was on the nose is definitely coming through on the palate as well. I would say that this is my least favorite of the 3 so far. The barrel bitterness, the sucking of the moisture off the tongue. There is a little bit of spice, and it's not sweet enough to balance out that spice. And it's just very difficult for me to get over that hay, grass, earthy note that's coming across as floral. I don't want to drink a flower. I don't want to drink grass. And that's what that's coming across as. All right, so let's go ahead and get on to the 4th and final one, the one that is coming out of Kentucky, distilled in Ohio. On the nose, smells much better than glass number 3. There's a sweeter note. The floral is still there. The cut grass, almost the waxy stems of a flower. And I can see a little bit of caramel and brown sugar and vanilla. I mean, all of those typical bourbon notes are there, with the exception of that florality and the green grass earthy note. I'm not a big fan of that. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. Oh, just on that last nosing, I got a little bit of tobacco. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. A little bit better, but not much better. I'm preferring the first 2 over the last 2. And I'm definitely preferring the first one over all 3. As it's sitting here a little bit, there is a growing ABV. There is that drying note, the tannin on the side, the bitterness, that earthy grass hay note is still there. Not a fan of that at all. So as far as scores go, I think these are average to slightly below average. I think I'm going to give the first glass a 3.25. I'm going to give second glass a 3.2. And then the last 2, I'm just going to give a flat 3. And my scoring system is out of 5 stars if you didn't know. So drop me a comment down below and let me know if you are familiar with Horse Soldier, and let me know if there's anything in their story that I didn't get right as far as going from Florida to Kentucky. I'm still a little bit up in the air about that information, so any clarification would help a tremendous amount. And before I get any further into the blend of these, I just want to let you know that I do have a May giveaway going. If you are a US viewer and you are living in the United States and you have a United States postal address, this giveaway is for you. If you donate to the channel, there's a super thanks underneath the video. There's a little heart sign with a $sign in it. If you click on that icon, it'll take you through the process of donating to the channel. If you feel like supporting the channel, donate any increments of $5, and that $5 donation will get you entered into one entry into the giveaway. If you are selected at the end of June, specifically June, I gotta look at my calendar here, June 26th, I'm going to cut this giveaway off for May, June 26th at 11:59 p.m. If you want to contribute and get into the entry, you can post a $5 increment into any video in May. And what you will end up winning, if you are selected, you can get 6 2-ounce samples of anything that I reviewed in May. And the reason why I'm keeping this giveaway open all the way through June 26th, my sister John and I have a pretty busy schedule in June. We entered into 2 KCBS barbecue events over in California. One's going to be on the 31st of May to June 1st, and then the next one's going to be the 14th and the 15th of June. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to dedicate to keeping track of everything, getting a video shot, selecting a winner, and then announcing it because I'm going to be out of town. And if you are interested in any of the June giveaways, the same thing's going to apply. When I start my videos in June, if you feel like donating or supporting the channel with $5 increments, feel free to do so, and I will put you into the entries for June. And I'll know that there's a difference because if you contribute to the May videos, you're in the May drawing. If you contribute to a June video, you're going to be in the June drawing. Some months are going to be good, some months not so good. You can pick and choose without actually being committed to a Patreon or some sort of subscription. Donate to your heart's content. You have to be 21 years of age or older. You have to be able to verify your age somehow, some way. And if you are selected, you can contact me through a DM through Instagram under the same name, Whiskey is a Journey. And I also have my email address linked into the rules in the description below. And last but not least, if I end up having enough donations to the channel to cover the cost of shipping and the cost of the sample bottles, and just to let you know, I think it's somewhere around $20 to ship. And then I'm not exactly sure what the shipment of these 2-ounce sample bottles are. But if I get like $200, I'll spin the wheel twice and then do 2 giveaways. So if that sounds like something that you're going to want to do and me talking about this has confused you, all of the rules are linked into the description below. All right, let's go ahead and get on to the blend. So we got 2, 3, and then 4. Ooh, that was quite a bit. Let me go ahead and dump a little bit more of these 2 in there. Let's roll this around in the glass and see how this is. Smells like a typical bourbon. I get a dusty note. That cut grass or hay note is completely gone. Smells a little proofy, and there's a little bit of sweetness, brown sugar, vanilla, and caramel. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing on the palate. So there's that hay note. Yeah, I'm not, whatever that note is, and I do believe sometimes I get that in 4 Roses, and I'm not a floral fan in bourbon. It really does remind me of chomping down, and not that I've ever done this, but chomping down on flower stems, how there's that waxy floral note. It just comes across as earthy, bitter, grass, hay. And like I had mentioned, that I think it's wheatgrass. I'm not exactly positive of the name of it, but it's like taking a shot of that grass. Yeah, that would probably be a blend that you can just pass by. That's going to do it. Again, do me a favor, leave some comments down below if you have had Horse Soldier. What do you think of them? Have you had their old stuff, compared it to their new stuff? And if you had to rank them, where would you put them in order from favorite to least favorite? That's all I got for you today. Wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. And until the next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.